The year 2000, there was an absolute titan ruling the entertainment world, a blue and yellow empire with over 9,000 stores, 60,000 employees, and a massive chokehold on how humanity consumed movies. It was Blockbuster. Their multi-billion-dollar business model was flawless, or so they thought. One afternoon, a small, struggling entrepreneur walked into the Dallas headquarters of Blockbuster. He offered them a partnership. He wanted to sell his tiny, unprofitable DVD by mail company for $50 million. The CEO of Blockbuster looked at the man and literally laughed him out of the room. He thought the idea was a joke, but that $50 million joke was called Netflix. And that single laugh was the exact moment the clock began ticking on Blockbuster's total destruction. This is the untold story of how pure arrogance, corporate greed, and a hidden business trap completely annihilated a global giant. To understand why Blockbuster felt so invincible, you have to look at their numbers. In the late 1990s, going to Blockbuster wasn't just a chore. It was an American Friday night ritual. Families would walk down the brightly lit aisles grabbing popcorn, candy, and scanning rows of VHS tapes. But behind the cheerful blue and yellow signs lay a deeply aggressive financial trap. Blockbuster's business model didn't actually rely on you watching movies. It relied on you forgetting to return them. A staggering 16% of the company's total revenue came from one single hated source: late fees. In one single year, Blockbuster generated $800 million just by penalizing their own customers for being late. They were addicting investors to a profit margin built entirely on customer frustration. They believed they were too big to fail because physical stores were the only way people could access Hollywood. They completely mistook a temporary monopoly for permanent human behavior. That brings us back to that fateful meeting in 2000. The man who was laughed at was Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix. He had actually started Netflix because he was furious about being charged a $40 late fee by Blockbuster for losing a copy of Apollo 13. Hastings realized that if you removed physical stores and late fees, and simply let people keep DVDs as long as they wanted through the mail, customers would love it. When he proposed the buyout to Blockbuster's CEO, John Antioco, the answer was cold. Antioco believed Netflix was a tiny niche .com business that would crash like the rest of the internet bubble. He famously believed that the .com hysteria was completely overblown. What Blockbuster failed to see was that Netflix wasn't just a mailing service, it was a data-gathering operation. While Blockbuster knew almost nothing about what their customers liked, Netflix was building an algorithm that understood exactly what people wanted to watch. While the giant slept, the tiny competitor was quietly building the infrastructure for the digital future. By 2004, the tables began to turn. Netflix was exploding, and Blockbuster finally realized the danger. The CEO, John Antioco, made a bold and brilliant move to save his company. He decided to completely eliminate late fees and launch an online service to fight Netflix head-on. It actually started working. Blockbuster Online was catching up fast. But this is where corporate politics turned into a tragedy. Remember that $800 million in late fees. When Antioco cut those fees to save the company's future, Wall Street went into a panic. The corporate board, led by a powerful activist investor named Carl Icahn, became furious. They didn't care about the year 2010. They cared about the next 3 months of profits. An internal war broke out. The board fired Antioco and replaced him with a traditional retail executive. The new management immediately reversed the smart digital strategy. They brought back the focus to physical retail and tried to squeeze even more money out of the stores. It was a fatal, short-sighted mistake. They chose to protect the past rather than fund the future. By 2010, the internet had evolved. Streaming was no longer a dream. It was reality. Blockbuster, suffocating under billions of dollars of debt from its massive brick-and-mortar stores, officially filed for bankruptcy. Today, Netflix is worth over $200 billion. And Blockbuster, it exists as a lone nostalgic store in Bend, Oregon, operating almost like a tourist museum. The tragedy of Blockbuster wasn't that they couldn't see the future, they saw it. They even built a plan to conquer it. The tragedy was a toxic corporate culture that prioritized short-term greed over long-term survival. They thought they owned the keys to the kingdom, but they forgot that empires vanish when they refuse to change. And in the end, that $50 million laugh became the most expensive sound in corporate history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's hidden archives, make sure to hit the subscribe button. See you in the next file.